great music speak for itself, you know what I'm saying? So as long as you keep coming with the heat, you know, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think intention, you know, probably speaks for itself as well. You know what I mean? Like, you're really there because you love it. Because I mean, I've gotten a lot of flack beyond the Breakfast Club. You know what I'm saying? People, it took them a minute to warm up to who's this dude who's not black on the Breakfast Club, you know, being a part of that, you know. And I think once they kind of see your genuine interest in what's going on, and you know that you really are a part of that culture, you know, they kind of start to warm up.
Yeah, this is, you know, that's something that we grew up in.
What up? It's Dramos, and this is the recap, of course, as I do each and every week, breaking down some of the biggest headlines from this last week. An amazing show today. My guest has probably the biggest record in the world right now with Whoopty. CJ will be hopping on in just a little bit to help me break down some stories from this last week. Before he does, though, man, let's get into some of the BS from this last week. So I'll be real, I was a little bit, you know, torn about covering this particular story, you know, mostly because it potentially could be a stain on much of what I stand for. But I then realized that by not doing this story, I'd be no better than the trash media outlets in this country who focus mainly on stories that fit their particular agenda. And if we're going to be so bold as to rush to criticize the other side when they make mistakes, we must also be sure that we hold our own accountable. So, listen, feel free to bring on the backlash, but we're going to get into it. And that is the topic of Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Khan-Cullors and her multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. Most recently, this last week, she closed on a $1.4 million house in California. Man, now the timing of this, it couldn't be worse, especially as the Black Lives Matter organization has kind of been under fire as of late for a bit of lack of transparency as to where the nearly $90 million in donations they received in 2020 alone, as to where that has actually gone. And of course, nothing gets the folks over at Fox News more aroused than finding a way to bash activists who are actually standing for something.
So this doesn't surprise me at all. She got the ability to have access to cash and wealth through a movement which has metamorphosized ever since. And she's being called out for it. And hopefully there is an investigation. We don't know where she got the money and how she earned it. And maybe she's turned into a capitalist. But those Marxists have a way of enriching themselves when they're at the top. Now,
I'll be honest, the optics of this, they look pretty terrible. I mean, it feels eerily similar to when you lend a friend like some money, and then all of a sudden, you know, you see that friend on social media and they're in like a fresh outfit, you know what I mean? They're having dinners at Nobu, you know, they're enjoying bottle service at a New York City club, but somehow they still haven't, you know, been able to find a way to pay you back. Looking at you, Chris. But we also can't allow optics alone to condemn someone. The reality is, Patrisse Khan-Cullors, she has her own money coming in. You know, from book deals to a television deal at Warner Brothers, she is earning her own checks. But I do agree that since there seems to be a lack of clear transparency as to where exactly donations for the Black Lives Matter organization are going and how much is actually going out and to where, there probably should be some sort of an investigation done. I do agree on that, especially during a time when you have people like the family of Michael Brown, who was fatally shot in Ferguson by police, coming out and saying that the BLM organization has not supported their charities and owes them.
What kind of movement are we building where we're saying Black Lives Matter, but the freedom fighters and the families are being left behind? Where is our restitution? Where is our organizing? Where is our building of a movement?
Now, while I agree, all this, it needs to be addressed and made right by the families, the fact is that the words Black Lives Matter are more than just an organization. We need to realize and constantly remind ourselves of this. Everything we're seeing, all these stories coming out, all these outlets reporting this, it's all just a distraction from the bigger issue. And that is that we wouldn't need to worry about donations to families, to causes, or organizations if cops would simply just stop killing unarmed people of color. Point blank, period. Now, on this week's show, I'm actually going to be lightening up the mood a little bit with this week's guest. So I'm excited to mix it up a little bit. I know it's been pretty heavy over these last few weeks, so we're definitely gonna mix it up and lighten the mood just a little bit with this week's guest. Now, help me break down some of the other biggest stories from this last week. My guest has one of the biggest records in the world right now in Whoopty. It's officially gone platinum. The remix for it, he's got some heavy hitters on it in Anuel and Osuna. His EP, Loyalty Over Royalty, is out everywhere right now. CJ, how we feeling?
Man, we doing good on this side, man. We blessed.
I love it, bro. I love it. Well, listen, you got a lot going on, man. I want to get into all that, but if it's cool with you, I want to kind of start off by getting your take on a couple current events.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. So, I mean, one of the big things that happened over this last week was Bad Bunny at WrestleMania, man. So I saw on social media, it looked like you might have been helping him celebrate a little bit in Miami. I want to get your take on the whole thing with him doing WrestleMania and just how much love he's getting for it.
Yeah, no, it's a great look. You know, I definitely I tapped in and I was watching the episodes and I was going on his page and really seeing what that was about. But yeah, that's legendary, man. You know, I was a huge fan of WWE growing up, so having a Puerto Rican brother, actually getting into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because he talks about it being like one of the greatest nights of his life. I saw him post about that, right? I mean, you like you said, we all grew up on wrestling and things like that. Is there anything that you grew up a fan of that you feel like you might want to try one day? Like one thing you'd like to tap into like that?
I want to say wrestling, but just more like film. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like probably like getting into some film, some movies, some shows, yeah, that's probably something I always wanted to achieve.
So the acting bug is gonna bite you. You're thinking? Sure. I love that, man. Well, listen. Also, I mean, a lot of things we've seen over the last week too has been some drama between Saweetie and Quavo, right? Some back and forth over the breakup. But it's funny because Quavo puts out this kind of snippet of a song, right? A verse talking about repoing the car that he got her and all these different things. They kind of been having like this, I don't know if it's fun, but it's interesting back and forth. So you got a little money in your pocket now, right? You're doing all right. What do you think about rules about buying women gifts, buying people that you're dating gifts?
The expectation bar is a little higher for, artists and dudes with money. Sure. Especially, everything that's going on the internet and Instagram and stuff like that. They see dudes tricking and, buying those types of bags. So, the bar's a little high for us. But, if you're into somebody, it's always good to, bless them with some gifts.
What do you think though? Do they have to give it back though? If y'all stop messing with each other, do they have to give the gifts back?
Yeah, I mean,
a car is kind of a lot though, right? A car is like,
It really all depends. Yeah, as far as like a car situation, yeah, taking that back. But like little gifts, like little bags and jewelry and stuff like that, she can keep that. That's for her.
I like it, man. It's very classy of you. Yeah, so all right, man. Let's get into you and all that you got going on, man. Because Whoopty's been a part of the news that we've seen every day. It's everywhere. You can't escape it right now. You got the biggest record in the country. I mean, so. What's interesting to me though, man, like if you look at some of the top comments on the YouTube channel for it or Googling it, it's what race is CJ? Is it weird to you that people are so obsessed with your race?
Yeah. It's crazy because like before I really started doing like Latin music and I did the remix with Anuel and Osuna and tapped in with Alpha and Faruco, for like a few months, they were really like going hard, like going super hard to try to figure out what I was. They were saying all types of shit. I'm the man of all races.
Yeah, I saw that one.
White, black, Spanish, Arabic. They were saying that I'm doing more Latin and I'm, doing the Spanglish. They starting to pinpoint, my nationality a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, but it's interesting because I feel like as Latinos, like if you grew up in the New York City area, bro, like hip hop was your music. You know what I'm saying? Like I know, I don't want to speak for you, but like my parents listened to Spanish music, but that was like my parents' music. You know what I mean? It never felt like my own. I didn't appreciate it till I got older. But it's interesting. We kind of exist in this weird gray area. You know what I mean? Like I've talked to Cool and Dre about that, and they talk about how when they were with Fat Joe and all these dudes, like they definitely felt like outsiders in this industry. You know what I'm saying? So for you, I mean, Do you kind of share that same kind of feeling when you were coming up and you know, trying to right now even making a name for yourself in this industry?
Yeah, you know, ain't really too many, you know, Latin artists in the hip hop world. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's really me, you know, Fat Joe, you know, J.I., he's doing his thing. So there ain't really too many of us. So, you know, we get looked at a little different, but you know, great music speak for itself, you know what I'm saying? So as long as you keep coming with the heat, you know, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think intention, you know, probably speaks for itself as well. You know what I mean? Like, you're really there because you love it. Because I mean, I've gotten a lot of flack beyond the Breakfast Club. You know what I'm saying? People, it took them a minute to warm up to who's this dude who's not black on the Breakfast Club, you know, being a part of that, you know. And I think once they kind of see your genuine interest in what's going on and you know, that you really are a part of that culture, you know, they kind of start to warm up.
Yeah, this is, you know, that's something that we grew up in, you know what I'm saying? Like, just because, you know, we might be a different race or whatever, but, you know, I grew up in that environment. I grew up in that, you know, in that life. So it's like, you know, they're gonna look at us a little different, but you know, it is what it is. That's where we come from.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people forget that Latinos in New York were a part of hip hop from the start. When you're talking about, you know, the B-boys, you know what I'm saying, the graffiti writers and all that kind of stuff, you know, and somehow our history in it, I feel like kind of got lost along the way, you know?
Yeah, it's all good though. But you know, we're gonna keep shining.
Exactly, bro. I love it. I mean, but what's also interesting, aside from being Latino, you're from Staten Island, which aside from Wu-Tang, nobody thinks of hip hop from Staten Island, right? So did you kind of feel like you got to prove yourself a little bit, because Staten Island gets a lot of flack for people who aren't from Staten Island?
Yeah, nah, for sure. That's been always since I was young. You know, trying to make it. You know, I've been making music since I was, you know, 12, 13 years old. So it's like it was a little harder, you know, to get noticed for this because of the simple fact that I'm from Staten Island. You know what I'm saying? We never really had that spotlight on us. You know, the only time we did was, you know, when Wu-Tang was out. Nothing really came out, you know, from Staten Island since Wu-Tang. But you know, I'm just happy to have, you know, that on my back, and I could say that I brought Staten Island back. You know, it's been 25, 30 years in the making. So
I love that.
I'm cool.
I mean, you know, it's fun because I saw a video too, even just New York City in general, though, right? Like I saw you signed to French, right? I saw a video of you with French Montana. What was that?
French is my guy. A lot of people thought I was signed to him because he handed me the chain, but French just you know, that's family. He just, you know, he wanted to co-sign me and just, you know, show love, you know, especially, you know, me coming from New York, and you know, he just wanted to embrace me. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you know. But I didn't sign the French.
That might even be
that
might be even more fire, to be honest with you, because he's just showing you love than out of the goodness of his heart. You know what I'm saying? Which to me is great.
Yeah, for sure. He was one of the first. Yeah, he was one of the first, you know, artists to really reach out and was like, yo, I love everything that you're doing. You know, come by the crib. You know, let's get in the studio. And yeah, me and him, we got some joints on the way.
I love that, bro. And I saw in that video, I don't know if it was you or him who said, you know, you got to bring New York back, essentially, right? You're bringing New York back. I mean, let's talk about that a little bit, because you know, before Whoopty, I mean, I feel like most of the big records in the hip hop space are coming from the South, you know, and that's been like that for the last few years. You talk about the biggest artists out right now, what Lil Baby, you know what I'm saying? You got the Baby, Pooh Shiesty, you know, all these guys coming from the South. I mean, what do you kind of feel like when, as a New Yorker? I mean, we're kind of, everybody talks about, oh, New York fell off, New York ain't got it no more.
We have our times, you know. We have our times where we shine for a little bit, and then, you know, the South, it got so much talent out there. New York as well, but you know, I feel like as far as like the hip hop sound and what's going on right now, that side just got it right now. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's so tuned into what they got going on, and you know, they getting played, you know, crazy in the clubs, but yeah, like everything that we're doing right now, you know, I feel like New York is definitely making a comeback, and I like seeing, you know, the new artists coming up, and you know, I support, you know, New York to the fullest. So.
Yeah, I mean, I want to show respect to Pop Smoke, because Pop Smoke is gigantic right now, but it's sad because it's like, man, we're hearing all his music right now, right? He's having the best year of his career, but he ain't here to enjoy it and to be a part of, you know, this maybe possible moment that New York is having right now. You know, that's what's sad about it.
Yeah. It's a tragedy, man. You know, he definitely would have been in my eyes, you know, up there with, you know, Lil Baby, the Baby, you know what I'm saying? So he was definitely doing his thing, you know, before he passed. But yeah, man, rest in peace, Pop.
Absolutely, bro. I mean, before you get out of here, I want to know, man, because I think you're at a space right now where all this stuff is happening and you're able to be a little bit more present to it. I feel like, what has been your like, oh, moment? You know what I'm saying? Like everything that's happening for you right now, has there been a moment where you stopped to be like, damn, bro, this is really happening right now?
I have a few, like, you know, I'll be having a few moments like that. One of them was when I was on set of the Whoopty Latin mix, Unwell and Ozuna. And I was just sitting there like, I was looking around, I'm like, damn, like I only been in the game for 9 months. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get features with these type of artists for free. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to pay the bag, or you got to, you know what I'm saying? You got to personally know them. Like, I didn't know them. You know, they reached out to me on some showing me love. Like, yo, we fans of the record. You know, we want to, you know, send the instrumental. We gonna get on it. Like,
they're like at like that Black Eyed Peas level. You know what I'm saying? Like the pop artists be reaching out to those dudes.
Like they global superstars. So, you know, for them to reach out to me and, you know, reach out to my team and wanting to work with me, you know, like I said, 9 months in, that's something that's really unheard of. Like, that don't happen every day. So it's like, you know, it's a blessing. So those are definitely, that was definitely, you know, one of the moments that I really sat back like, wow, like, it's really happening right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. And I gotta say, it's a beautiful thing to see. And I think that's what's so special about the Latin artists, which might be lacking a little bit in hip hop, is the amount of love that they all show to one another. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you could have, you know, 7 of the hottest dudes in Latin music on the same remix in one song, and nobody blinks twice about it, you know?
Yeah, it's a little different in that lane, you know, the Spanish lane, you know. Like, I was in a club with them yesterday. I was in a club with everybody, you know. Mike Towers, Bad Bunny, Alpha, Unwell, and it's just like, it's nothing but love. You know what I'm saying? Like it's super different. Like, I feel like, as far as, like, don't get me wrong, I love rap, I love hip hop. You know, that's where it started. But it's like, I feel like it's such a competition. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say you put 7 of the best, you know, rappers in the same building. You know, ain't gonna be like, you know, how it was last night. There's gonna be a lot of love. You know, everybody want to be that top dog. Everybody want to be the man, instead of, you know, everybody showing love to each other and supporting each other and helping one another. So it's a little different, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man. Before we get out of here, anything you want to let people know? I mean, what are you working on next? I mean, I know you got the EP out. You know, we got a couple Whoopty remixes out. I mean, what's the next step for you?
Man, we working. Me and Ozuna, we got some more joints. Nice. We about to shoot another video. The song is called Rolex. me and Alafa just dropped La Mama. I was going crazy. That video is going dumb right now. The song is going crazy in the clubs. I'm working on my album. I should be dropping it around summertime. We don't got a name yet, but it's coming real soon. And you know, just keep working and keep, you know, putting out great content and great music. Getting some more features.
I love it, bro. Listen, man, I appreciate you for hopping on, and for real, I appreciate what you're doing, man. I think you're providing a voice for a lot of people. You know, whether you realize it or not, you're speaking to a whole another generation, and you're providing a much needed voice, you know, to be that representation of Latinos, you know, in the hip hop space for this new generation, man. So I salute you and keep doing your thing.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you for having me.
Bro. Man, big thank you to my guest this week, CJ. I would say, like, go and check him out, but the song is literally everywhere right now. His EP, Loyalty Over Royalty, is out everywhere right now, though, so you can go stream that, check out more music from him. And before we get out of here, though, of course, I want to end the show on some positivity, and let's do that in the form of a positive quote. Now, this week's quote, it comes to us from J Balvin, and the quote is, "By erasing barriers of races, colors, continents, genres, or languages, we can achieve the whole world moving their head to the same beat." And first and foremost, if you've been watching the show at all, you know that I love any sort of time I can correlate music to real life and make some sort of weird analogy about music and how it's a representation for our lives, or at least it can be. But I think this is so spot on, and I think it hits on so many different conversations we were having throughout the show. I mean, even when we talk about CJ and this sort of obsession with his race in the hip hop space, I mean, it's kind of fascinating that we as human beings just want to put people and put things in boxes so badly. You know, rather than just saying, hey, this is something good, I don't care who made it, we want to try to find a way to kind of categorize it as something, or sort of, you know, figure out a way to maybe keep certain people out of it or tell people that they don't belong. And that's kind of an analogy for so much of what we see in this world. I think that that's something that's ingrained in us, and it's been ingrained in us, you know, for generations and for centuries, of when something appears to be different and not like the norm, people are sort of trained to push against it and look for reasons not to like it, look for reasons to, you know, feel superior to that thing. And that's kind of what gets us into these places that we're in right now. I mean, these conversations of racism and people looking for reasons to deny racism, or what we've seen with police and the obvious bias that happens when they see a person of color, when they pull over a person of color, and this heightened, you know, senses that happens, this fight or flight mode that seems to happen with a lot of police, that they're, you know, automatically engaged in feeling threatened just upon seeing a person of color. And obviously, you know, that's the beginning of these issues that we've been seeing. Our white counterparts aren't getting shot or tased or threatened or harassed at the same rate as people of color are. That's just a fact. And it's obvious that it's because of the way that people of color are perceived in this country. And that's something that needs to change. And the sooner we realize we're all not that different, man, the sooner we can get to enjoying life and not having to deal with such depressing, unnecessary tragedy in our everyday lives. And that's that. And maybe I looked a little too deeply into that music quote, but hey, that's kind of what's been on my heart right now when I read that, and what came to mind when I was looking at that quote from our guy J Balvin. Now, with that said, thank y'all so much for tuning into this week's show. I appreciate you. I'll catch you next week. Until then, stay safe. Bye.